Hey everyone, it's Mel. I'm here live with my mommy who's joining me now. Come have a seat. I created an obstacle course for her. So we're here today. It's my birthday, so it's very fitting that I'm here with the woman whose body I came out of, talking about thoughts about our bodies and body love issues. So, yeah, we just kind of wanted to share with you. This is going to be really organic and off the cuff. If anybody has questions or comments, we're going to try to address those as we go. But if not, we'll definitely hop on after and try to take care of that with you. So I guess my dog is in the background squawking at us because she would like to participate. So, I think that the most important thing to know about our thoughts on our bodies is that what you think really determines your experience. So if you walk around with thoughts that are negative, you're going to have an overall negative experience. And that's something I learned from my mom from a very young age. She always told me, you can choose to be happy. And when I was struggling with feeling badly about my body, I remember thinking like, well, if I can choose to be happy, then surely I can choose to feel good about my body. And that's where it really started for me. But I'm curious to know, Mom, growing up, like, what did you learn that helped you deal with those issues, and what have you dealt with in your life when it comes to thoughts about your body?
I probably didn't have good thoughts about my body until I got to be an adult.
Really?
Because as a child, I was big. I was a big girl. I was called a big girl even by family members. And so you grow up with a perception that you are fat, that you're overweight, that you're not acceptable, and you're not likable because of that. So I didn't determine, I guess, until I got older, that looking back at pictures, I couldn't understand why I had that perception because I wasn't fat.
Yeah.
I was big. I was always big for my age. I was always bigger than my peers. So somehow that got interpreted. I internalized myself as fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but
Well,
I think
hey,
it's an
it's okay.
experience we can all
You know
relate
what?
to. Yeah.
Every kid grows up with hard knocks, and it didn't stop me from achieving my goals.
Because you're pretty fabulous.
But I would definitely say, looking back, the parents need to be very careful what they say to their children, and because children do interpret things, they take that and internalize that. If you tell them they're eating too much or they're going to get fat if they eat too much, I heard a lot of that kind of talk when I was growing up.
Yeah. I'm seeing here we have a comment from Rosie Mercado, who my mom and I got to hang out with the other day. And she says, our body is the vehicle we have to live our purpose. Love it, bless it, and take care of it. Oh, I think you're amazing, my love. Hi, Mom. Oh, thanks, Rosie.
Hi,
We think you're amazing,
Rosie.
too. Love you, girl. Thanks for chiming in. And people like Rosie have really taught me, she's been incredibly brave by putting her story out there and being open about it and saying, this is how I was feeling, this is how I was treated, this is what I'm doing to now take care of my body. So I think maybe like this is kind of related to what you were just talking about. We all grow up feeling a certain way, or we have experiences in our lifetime that make us feel a certain way. So I think talking about it and sharing our stories with other women is really powerful, because when we share what we've gone through, that might give somebody else inspiration and empowerment to take charge of their own experience. And that's really a great thing. So thank you, Rosie, for being such a great example to us in that way. I know that growing up with you as a mother and guiding me through life, again, you really taught me that happiness is a choice and how we perceive ourselves is a choice. And that's definitely been a big part of my journey when I had moments where either somebody would say something to me, or I felt like I wasn't getting to where I wanted to be in my lifetime. I would always track back to that advice from you, that it's a choice and we get to choose. And that's why one of the core, principles of the Healthy at Any Size, manifesto, I guess you would say, is that you have to choose to embrace your body as it is. And that's the very first step in the process. And what that does for us mentally is it sort of pumps the brakes on any negative thoughts that we might be having. So Um, oh, thank you, Rosie. I'm seeing your comments pop up here. They're making me so happy. We pump the brakes on those negative thoughts that we might be having. And I think that once you do that, you start to become aware of like all those sneaky negative thoughts that you're having about yourself. Because it can be easy to go through life and just be on autopilot and not be aware of how you're tearing yourself down. Like when you look in the mirror, when you put on a bathing suit. I mean, we were just talking yesterday about like the beach body and bikini body experience. I think is a really big part of it for a lot of us. And being able to be confident when we put on a skimpy dress or, you know, a bikini, takes courage sometimes. But one of the cool things that you were talking about is being on the beach. My mom lives in Miami. And so down there, it's really fun because you see people of all different shapes and sizes from all across the world. Everybody's expressing themselves and wearing whatever they want to wear. And I know you said you've gotten a lot of inspiration from that.
Yeah, I think if you really want to get courage about getting yourself in a bathing suit, just go to any beach, and especially one where there's a lot of people from other countries, like in Miami, and you'll see women are not self-conscious like we are as Americans. I have been so impressed about how many women of all ages, all shapes and sizes, most of them, in my opinion, should not be in a bikini, but they are, and they're having fun. They're walking, they're playing with their kids, they're swimming and playing in the water, and they don't seem to give a hoot about what anybody thinks of their body. And so I decided, why do we as Americans care so much?
Well, and I think it was interesting how you said that, like, because you grew up thinking a certain way and being taught a certain way. In your mind, you were taught you have to have a certain kind of body to wear a bikini. So you look at women who don't have a perfect body and you think, wait a second, like they're not supposed to be able to wear a bikini. But wait, if they're wearing a bikini and they're enjoying life and they're looking great and they're having fun, then what the heck am I worried about?
Right.
So it's really about those women that are brave enough to share their bodies with us and to express themselves and what they wear. That gives everybody else courage. And then that reminds us that anybody can wear a bikini. And all you need to have a bikini body is a bikini and a body. And then you got it.
So women are meant to have curves. We all have curves in different places and different sizes.
Yep.
But it's okay. It's okay to have curves.
Yeah, it is okay, and it's beautiful.
Yes, and it should be looked at as beautiful.
That's right, and I think that's a really beautiful sentiment that you shared, and that idea that you can kind of like mentally give other women a high five when you see them out rocking their curves, and then that's part of that reprogramming of your thoughts. I mean, that teaches you to see beauty and positivity in a curvy, womanly shape, and that's going to translate to how you see yourself. So I guess if there was like a tip or a trick that I was recommending, like that would be a big one. You know, don't you think? Like to celebrate other women and their bodies and train yourself to start to do that. And it will translate to how you feel about your own body as a woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For sure. So we talked about getting out and changing up our experiences a little bit too. So a little bit about my mom that you need to know is she became an avid runner at the age of 50. She started lacing up her sneaks, going out, doing half marathons, 10-milers, 5Ks, you name it. This woman has done it. In fact, we were just on a run this morning together and she kicked my butt on the stairs. So, and I think that's really inspiring that you just chose at that point in your life to have that experience. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, you're never too old. That's my theory. I started rowing with other women and on a competitive rowing team when I turned 50. And then when I moved to Miami, I invited my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, to come out. And we signed up for the Miami Half Marathon and just decided we're going to do it. Even if we had to walk the whole thing, we're going to do it. And we both started training. Having a goal to train for was really fun, and it kept me very disciplined about working out at least every other day, if not every day. Yeah. And I feel better. I lost weight. But most of all, it's not just the weight, it's getting the strength, and your energy level increases.
Because this lady travels a lot. She's on the go, taking care of kids and business. So she needs that energy to get through her day. Yeah, so that's really cool, Mommy.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for
And it's
inspiring
fun.
me. Yeah.
It's fun. I'm so happy I'm able to go out and run with my daughter.
Yay. So one thing you talked about that I think that people would really like to hear about is when you're running in the park and you see another woman who's running too, you kind of feel a sisterhood with her and you feel like, go girl, even if she's faster, slower.
I've just recently in the park where I take my dogs to jog, I've seen this woman just in the last couple weeks. She's out there every day. She's slow. I can tell she's just starting out, but she's out there every day and she jogs at her own pace. She doesn't stop. And I can tell she's really working. She's probably my age or maybe older, and she's working hard to drop that weight and get in shape. And who knows what her story is. Maybe she has high blood pressure. Maybe she's pre-diabetic. But it's really encouraging, and I'm so happy every time I see her. And I can think of several other women that I see out walking the neighborhood or jogging. And it's really good to see people trying to stay in shape.
Yes. We had a comment a minute ago from a lady, and I'm sorry, it's scrolled up and I can't see it, and I can't remember your name, but you said you're a curvy woman, you rock your bikini and feel great. So we want to high five you, sister. High five. We're celebrating your body and our body, so thank you for sharing that. But back to what you were just talking about, I think that's really incredible. And a lot of us probably worry when we start to try a new form of exercise or way of showing our bodies love through movement that we're going to be judged. I remember when I first got into yoga after my back surgery, I was afraid to go to yoga class because I was like, I'm going to be the fat girl in yoga class and they're going to think I'm crazy for showing up here. But what you just said gives women hope because you respect this woman, even though she might be a beginner, even though she's not like, she doesn't have that perfect runner body that we sometimes think we have to have. You see her out there and you're like, high five, sister. Good for you. Yeah. Take care of yourself. Yeah. So that's what people are probably really thinking when they look at us, and they're not thinking the negative things that we're afraid to be judged for, which gets back to our thoughts. Like a lot of this pain that we feel about our bodies and a lot of the fear that we have, it's in our minds. It's not founded in reality. In reality, women see other women and think, that's beautiful, and I want to do more of that. I don't think we're half as mean as we think we are to one another sometimes. And then when we are, it just comes from the fact that maybe if a woman is mean to you about your body, she's probably feeling insecure about her own body. So that's where you have to have a powerful mind and equip yourself with healthy, positive thoughts to overcome that and remind yourself, you know what just happened there? That woman who body shamed me, that woman who wasn't kind to me, she's not feeling good about herself. So I need to just let her go in love and not take that on and not internalize it and let it stop me from doing the things that I want to do. Like this lady who said she's not going to let it stop her from running no half marathon at age of 50 plus. So
60.
Yeah. 60. That's right. Oh my gosh, you just turned 60.
I did.
And I'm turning 32 today. So thanks for giving me life. Thank you for these 32 years. Yeah. So I just want to go through my checklist here and make sure we covered everything. I mean, I think the most important takeaway really is, you have to start by making a choice and say, I'm going to embrace this body that my mother has given me, all the curves I got from my mama, and say, I'm going to love this body, regardless of what's happened. In my case, it was, I've got to, not let the fact that I've had these back problems be the story that I carry with me about my body for the rest of my life. And even though, the military calls me a disabled veteran, I'm not going to live a disabled life. I'm going to find a way to be active again. I'm going to embrace my body and everything that's happened to it today and choose to get active and get healthy and take care of myself because it makes me feel good, not because I'm trying to lose weight. I had to let go of that because anytime I started working out because I wanted to lose weight, I would get injured because I would go too hard, too fast. I would get frustrated that I wasn't seeing those immediate results. And then I would pull a hamstring or, strain my back again and I would quit. And I would say, it's not worth it. Screw this. And I'm just going to be fat and hate my body and be miserable forever. And I lived in that cycle for about 7 years. And this was around the same time that you had started running. And I'm like looking at my mom going, wait a second, if she can do this, like I'm in my 20s. What am I griping about? I need to get off my duff and start enjoying my life the way I see my mom doing that.
No excuses.
That's right. So you make that choice. You know, don't let the fears that you have about being judged, you don't let the fears that you have about how other women are going to treat you, get in your way. And instead of, you know, always being in that posture of fear and bracing for somebody to be mean to you, when you look at other women, celebrate them. And then that's going to train you to think more positively about your own body and your own experience. And you'll probably, like, hey, if you're running down the trail with a smile on your face because you're thinking, high five, sister, I'm happy for you, that woman's probably going to smile back at you and maybe give you a high five as you run past. So you invite more positivity by going into it with a positive mindset. And then I think, you know, getting yourself into new experiences, kind of like my mom talked about, I'll go run at the park instead of just on the treadmill at the community center, because it helps you encounter different people. It kind of changes up the mojo of your experience. You picked a race and it just made that your goal. You're like, I'm just going to run this half marathon. You put yourself out there for new experiences, and that led you to a whole new place with your body.
And I didn't just go out and start running 13 miles. I started
Training
with just a mile or two at a time. I'd walk for a minute, jog for a minute, walk for a minute, jog for a minute. And I built up gradually to the point where I could run, walk for 12 miles. And then once you're able to do that, you can do a half marathon.
That's right.
And it hurts.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy and it hurt a lot, but I didn't die.
You lived to
You
tell the
crossed the
tale.
finish line and you live to see another day and you recover.
That's right. So the first tip was embrace your body as it is, make the choice. Second tip is give those other women out there a mental high five and start treating yourself a little more kindly with how you're thinking. Third tip is shake up your experiences and give yourself like some new goals and challenge yourself a little bit. Get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. And then I guess the other goal is like kind of just do it. Maybe
Find a training plan. There's tons of training plans online. Google, you know, from couch to half marathon.
Yep.
And you will find a training plan and you start out slow and you just got to stick with it.
So what do you think that the experience of becoming a runner, and whether it's running or anything else, it's trying something new, a new form of showing your body love through movement. What has that done for you mentally?
It's given me confidence that to do things that I didn't think I would ever do at my age.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up as an athlete. There was no women's athletics when I was in high school or college.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is new for me and it's fun.
Yeah.
It makes you happy. It really does. You have all these happy endorphins after you run or do a yoga class or go rowing. I tried adult learn to row.
Yeah.
You just have to be brave enough to try new things.
Yeah.
I've done what's it called?
Soul Cycle.
Soul Cycle with Melinda, and it was a blast. I think that's the key too, is changing it up and not just doing
The same
one
thing.
form of exercise, but try jogging, try Soul Cycle, try yoga.
Yeah.
Try different things.
Yeah. Because you're talking about your experience with running, and for me, I run, but the bigger challenge for me was getting to the yoga mat, and that was what I knew my body needed at that point in my life after having surgery. And the more that I've allowed myself that experience, it's been really helpful and instructive. But there did come a time I was afraid to go to classes, and I was kind of dabbling with Rodney Yee does these great videos for Gaiam, and that was the first instructor that I took classes from my apartment. But there came a point where I had to just do it. And just like you said, I picked a race and I signed up and I just did it. So that's probably the last tip that we'll leave you with today. But just get out there and do it. And it doesn't have to look a certain way. Like you said, you started walking a minute and running a minute. You didn't go out there and like blast an 8-minute mile on your first run. And you know what? You might never do an 8-minute mile. And that's okay. I run sometimes like between 10 to 13-minute mile pace. We take it easy on some runs, you know, and you have to. It's all about what you can do. You don't need to compare yourself in a negative way to other women. Going back to our other tip, instead of negative self-comparison, do that mental high five and say, I love that she can do that, even if my body's not supposed to do that. And I celebrate that. And then it will encourage you to change it, get out of your comfort zone and just do it and hop in there and try something new. So those are our 4 tips for you today. I hope that you guys got some value out of it. Do you have anything else you want to share or anything you want to ask me before we sign off?
Well, tell us how you felt as a child and what actually, I think it helps to go back and acknowledge what started the negative body image so that you can from there erase that and rethink your whole attitude towards yourself.
Well, I think as a kid, I just knew I was bigger. And I wasn't even necessarily always fat, but just like I was a big human. I was tall. I knew I was exceptionally tall. There would be times where like I couldn't fit into like the toy when I was really, really little, and everybody has those miniature toy cars. The age where all my friends were playing with those and enjoying them, I was already too big for those things. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm so big. I'm awful, and I'm being excluded from experiences because of my size. I think that's where it started for me, was I became aware of my size because I was finding myself in really minor ways being excluded from certain experiences. Or, when I did like cheerleading or swimming as a kid, I remember it was always kind of a stressful experience when it came time to order uniforms because I knew I was going to have a much bigger size than all my peers. And that's where that size obsession started to sneak in. And I did swim from a very young age, which was a great way to show my body love through movement. But, when you're in a bathing suit, there's nowhere to hide. So I was comparing my body to other kids' bodies and feeling big because of that. I would say throughout my childhood and adolescence, I had people comment on my size, sometimes in well-meaning ways, but sometimes in ways that were really, really hurtful. I remember it was the 100th day of the school year, and I was in 2nd grade, and this teacher had me get on a scale, and she wanted to show the classroom what 100 pounds looked like. And I was mortified that she was calling me out for my size because I was the biggest kid in the class, and she's like putting me on display and telling everybody my weight. And that was probably like the most mortifying experience that I could ever imagine for myself at that age. So yeah, all these ways that I was just made very aware of my size. And the teacher wasn't doing that to hurt my feelings or single me out in a bad way. She didn't know better. She was doing the best she could to celebrate the 100th day of school. So things like that happen. And I guess to track back to what we said earlier in this combo, people don't mean to hurt you all the time, and sometimes it's how you receive it and what's going on in your own head. I already felt singled out because of my size, so that just reinforced it to me, where I could have, I was a 2nd grader, so cut her some slack, little Melinda some slack, but I could have chosen to receive that differently, and I just wasn't equipped to at that age. By the time I got to high school, I remember I fell in love with rowing because I started this sport, and suddenly my size was like the best thing about me, and it made me a really good rower. And so I really threw myself into that sport because it made me feel a sense of belonging and a sense that I was exceptional in a good way because of how big I was. So that was my experience, in childhood and adolescence with my size, and that's where it all started for me. And I think, again, like your advice telling me I could choose to be happy is what helped me get through some of those tough experiences. And then the older I've gotten and the more I've been able to, really process what that means and how empowering that advice is, I've tried to take it to just a different level every time with, okay, it doesn't just mean being happy. It means really monitoring what's happening in your mind and looking back at those experiences where people hurt me to realize like, the other person didn't mean any harm. I'm taking all this on internally and letting it ruin my experience because I'm not being careful about my thoughts. So we covered embracing your body and choosing to love your body as it is. We covered mentally high-fiving other women and, having an open mind and a positive mind because that's going to support you seeing yourself in a positive light and doing all the things you want to do. And then when you're feeling awesome because you're embracing and loving, you're going to want to try new things and get out of your comfort zone, which is tip number 3. Tip number 4 is to pick a goal and just do it. And then I think maybe a fifth tip is have a woman like your mommy or your sister. And I know my sister's out there watching and we love her. Wish she could be here. But have the women in your life that you share with. And even if it's not something that you've done before, just us having this conversation today, like I don't think we've ever really talked about our bodies with each other this way, but it's really powerful when we start to share our experiences. And it, you know, if we feel like a sense of separation with other women, you're going to start to feel more connected because you're sharing and opening it up, and they're going to share and open up in return. We're all looking to feel better. So just don't be afraid to do that and lean on the women in your life to support you. So I think we're gonna hop off and get on with celebrating this birthday day.
Birthday time.
And birthdays are really all about the mommies. We celebrate all that you do for us and the ways that you support us throughout our lives. So we're gonna go have some mother-daughter time. But thank you to everyone who tuned in today. We will check the comments and try to address anything that we didn't get to. But thank you all for the lovely compliments and support and participation throughout this. And I'll be back next week. We're gonna be talking about feelings. So everybody take care. Think some happy thoughts today. Bye.